What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fight Junkeez. I was a couple seconds off on that one. If you don't know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the studio. But you got to look at the camera with the light on. That's the key to success. So what's up? Welcome back to Fight Junkeez. Hope everyone's doing okay on this beautiful, beautiful day in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada, where it's been so hot, and it's only May. I got George behind the camera.
Behind the cameras. In front of one camera, behind many cameras.
Many cameras. Making sure the lighting's good. Making sure Conor McGregor and Proper 12 are in sight.
Oi.
We got a legend behind me today in Muhammad Ali.
Yeah?
His head's a little cut off, but it's all good.
Oh, no, you're good, G. Let me show people real quick.
Oh!
From ringside.
There we go. Yeah, if you didn't notice, if I'm not sitting in the middle couch, a lot of the clips, we don't have anything behind me but a black wall. So we made the executive decision to start throwing some stuff behind me, which I think's cool.
It looks great.
I love it. So there are no fights this weekend, but there is a show that's going to be airing, I believe, in China, like a UFC show. I think there's going to be 3 episodes, kind of like Embedded, but I think, let me look up the name. It's a show that's been gone for a while. That's why I can't remember the name. And I remember the kid from Barstool Sports, Your Mom's Basement, asked Dana when it was going to come back about a month ago. And Dana was like, oh, I forgot that was a thing. And I guess it's back. So yeah, there's not much going on this weekend, but there is a lot going on in the fight world. So we're going to break it down. George, how you doing today?
Doing great. I mean, you're about to go into, even though the UFC doesn't have anything going on, right? The fight world it has such juicy storylines. And although it's at a point where the common fan is like, oh, there's nothing going on. But for true fight fans, this is like where the rumblings of the big pay-per-views start to really take place. And I'm excited for you to uncover some of that.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's a great way to explain it.
Yeah. You got it. It's all storylines. And they got bought by WWE. And I'm just like, that's the easiest tie for me to be like, they're going to be a little bit better at promotion. And WWE is top notch.
It's in my, toward the bottom of my notes here. But now that you just brought up that they were purchased another part, if you didn't know, the last 12 years, the UFC, when they're streaming, they've been exclusive to one platform, whether it's Fox or ESPN. The UFC has been faithful to a single broadcast partner. And now the promotion's next deal could splinter across multiple networks for the very first time. So that's huge.
That's NFL stuff right there.
Yes.
CBS, Fox.
So Dana White in 2020, in the midst of all the chaos, went in the lab, did a lot of work, but he did have like a 5-year goal. And he said, we're going to be doing things just like the NFL, like, Major League Baseball, the NBA within the next 5 years. We're 3.5 in, and they're about to be over multiple platforms. That's huge. That's huge. You got to remember, New York City wouldn't even let them fight not long ago. The Athletic Commission still would not sign off on the Ultimate Fighting Championship fighting. So, I mean, across all boards, media, networks, money, they're growing at a ridiculous rate. If you think about this, last year, the UFC made $387 million in profit.
Crazy.
Profit. They made more money in profit than any other organization, every other organization combined to include boxing. So think about that. More than the PFL, Bellator, One Championship, every single boxing, Mayweather Promotions, Golden Boy Promotions, HBO, all of it. They made more than all of them put together, and then some. There's a reason. So they're doing things right, and it looks like they're going to only continue to grow. So I want to bring that up. Yeah, look out. They could be on Fox, ESPN, multiple networks. I think that's going to be pretty cool. That's also going to help the viewer Because some people are paying for something already. They don't want to pay for something else. But let's get into the juicy stuff. I don't think you guys really care about what network they're going to be on. One of the big things that just came out, drum roll, Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman.
Whoa.
I'm going to say that again. Khamzat Boers, the wolf, the Chechnyan warrior himself, against Kamaru, the Nigerian nightmare.
Usman.
If that doesn't excite you, I don't know what does. Now, there was rumblings about this. I think Usman even went to the UFC headquarters behind our building and spoke to Uncle Dana himself and said, look, I'm lobbying for this fight. I want this fight to happen. How do you not give a fight like that to Usman? There's one reason that Usman would not get a fight that he wanted. Because Usman is, the middleweight GOAT as far as I'm concerned. Or the welterweight GOAT, I'm sorry. The only reason he wasn't going to get the fight is because Khamzat missed weight by 7.5 pounds and had to fight Kevin Holland at UFC 279.
Choked him till his eyes fucking almost popped out of his head. Crazy.
Absolutely, yeah. And we all kind of thought it was going to go that way. But when you got, arguably the GOAT at the welterweight division asking for his next fight. Now, granted, this next fight is his first fight back since losing his belt after not losing since like 2015 or 16. You're going to give him what he wants. Unless he wants to fight a guy at 170 that missed weight by almost 8 pounds. So Dana said, I'm not going to entertain a catch weight. And that was a narrative for a while. Until a few days ago. When I posted on the one and only Fight Junkeez page that the fight has been announced. And that they are going to scrap in Abu Dhabi at UFC 294 on October 21st.
Abu Dhabi.
Now, Khamzat's already said, I've been here. I've been in Dubai. I've been training in Thailand. He goes all over Europe. He's ready. He said he just hasn't been able to get a fight. Well, I think he's got a fight in his hands, boys. And I'll tell you what, Khamzat, I'm going to dig into this young man for a minute here.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I like putting the promoter hat on and having fun with the show. But
no notes needed on this one,
yeah,
partner.
put the phone down.
It's from the heart.
Yeah, I'm an older cat. I'm getting old. So I've been around the fight game a long time. I've been watching it a very, very long time. 7.5 pounds. 7.5 pounds. If you miss weight by 7.5 pounds in 2008, you were not fighting. You'd be lucky if you didn't get cut. You'd be completely shunned by the MMA community. Most of your friends, everybody would be very, very upset with you. When Khamzat missed weight, it was almost celebrated. I mean, there were some people that went into crazy conspiracies of he missed weight on purpose, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe all that crap. The UFC is a business. And how could they know that he was not going to make weight? But I'm a little bit worried for Khamzat in this upcoming bout against Kamaru Usman, and I'll tell you why. George, you watched him fight Gilbert Burns, right?
Correct.
Before that fight, how did you think that fight was going to go?
You're talking about Khamzat, yeah?
Khamzat versus Gilbert Burns. When you knew that they were going to fight, how did you think it was going to go?
I mean, I imagined Khamzat was going to handle that soundly. And I felt bad for Burns because he's trying to make a name for himself, but I just feel like those are the humps that he hasn't been able to get over. He's trying to go top notch. Like, he's going for it all. I felt bad for Burns, but yeah. How'd you feel?
Same. So we heard it. And if you're watching and you know Khamzat, we all, pretty black and white thought he's going to run through Gilbert Burns.
Correct.
That was not the case. It was the hardest fight of his career. I've seen fights not that close that went the other way. He won the fight, but it was a dogfight, man. They went back and forth. They beat the living shit out of each other for 15 minutes. And I thought, and everyone else thought, and most importantly, Khamzat thought that he was going to run through Gilbert Burns. Did you watch Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman?
I did not.
Okay. Now, granted, they have trained together for multiple years. They're friends. I don't think that truly matters when you get punched in the face. I think getting punched is getting punched. Kamaru Usman TKO'd. Beat, I think it was the second round, maybe the third. Gilbert Burns went up, to take Usman's belt. And he got bodied by Usman. He did okay. He did knock down Usman with an overhand right. Usman got back up, ended up beating him decisively, stopped him. Khamzat could not stop Gilbert. Usman stopped Gilbert. I hope, and I'm looking right at the camera, looking at you, Khamzat Chimaev. Do not, young man, let your ego get in the way of doing the right thing inside that octagon. You're a savage. You have the skill set. Don't let your ego let you get in there and bang it out with the greatest welterweight, former champ of all time. I think that's going to be his downfall in this fight, personally. And you've seen star athletes, you watch football. How many times are like the new quarterback, he was killing it in college, was like a third-round pick. The first string got hurt, so he got thrown in there in like a heated game, and he starts throwing bombs, and he ruins the whole thing.
Correct.
Because of his ego.
Correct.
Ego's a son of a gun. And I just think it comes with age. But how could you also not have an ego? I mean, Mike Tyson always says his ego, is why he got to where he was. So, I don't know. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, it'll be interesting with the way that the whole weight thing's played out. Do you think
it's at welterweight, 170?
170?
Yep.
And it's because Usman's calling for it. I feel like if Khamzat has he accepted?
They wanted a catch weight at like 177 or Dana said no catch weight. And then Khamzat's like, I'll body you in any weight, so let's do it. He's the number 4 in the middleweight division, and he's only been 2 fights or whatever. But no, it's at 170.
Now there's no clauses in the UFC like to say. I wish it was a rule. Like if you miss weight twice, that second time you miss weight, you're not getting paid. You're not getting the fight. We're going to use an alternate.
Ooh.
Because if not, I'm approaching it the same way. I'm like, this motherfucker is going to come in over because he doesn't give a shit. It's not for a belt, right? It's to possibly face Leon Edwards, right? That's what the
if he beats Usman, he's definitely got to fight the winner of Leon versus Colby.
Correct.
There's nowhere else to go. But I like that idea. A little bit more consequence. He was rewarded last time.
Literally. The only scolding he got was from Joe Rogan. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, at least somebody's saying, ripping into him. I know Dana ripped into him too, but.
Did he? I don't know. We'll see though. How do you think it plays out? Regardless of the weight, just looking at both of those fighters and the caliber of men that they are, how do you think it goes?
I would think Khamzat definitely beats him. I would want to say that it's a 5-rounder that without a doubt goes the distance. I just think Usman's like at this point in time in his career and what I've seen from the past 2 Edwards fights, his patience has like been to his detriment. Because I really do think in the UFC, there's points in times where champs in big time fights don't push the gas pedal early enough, and then they regret it, and then they're chasing. I know in the first one he was up, right? But then this past Edwards fight, I was like, it's too much respect shown. You know what I mean? And I think when you look at the greatest champions, like the risk takers, and I think Khamzat would definitely be more of a risk taker than Usman in that fight. But I don't know. It could be like a complete mentality shift for Usman.
Yeah, it's going to be one of two. It's going to be Usman's done after this. Like, let's say he loses. I think he walks away and focuses on like his brother. You know, his brother's got one fight in the UFC. Came off Contender Series. No, he won tough. He won the Ultimate Fighter. His brother's a heavyweight. He's done everything. I mean, he's literally done everything. Was he tied with George St. Pierre, I think, in the welterweight division? If not, right below him. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be either he lost his belt, was, gun shy to go in there and pull the trigger against Leon because of that head kick. Took some time off, which he'll have about 7 months in between this and the Khamzat fight. And he comes back fully invigorated, full of just piss and vinegar. And he's like, I'm going to go for another title run and I'm going to beat the dog shit out of this dude and I'm going to make a statement. Or he goes in there. Yeah, it's weird, man. He could literally have those same thoughts, lose, and then it's kind of like Masvidal. Masvidal said, if I win this fight, I'm going to go on for a title run. And then he lost and he retired. I think if Usman goes in there and loses, that he walks away. And the only reason I'm going to say Khamzat's going to win is because there's not a lot of champs that get their belt back. It's just, there's not many of them. Not that he can't do it, but Khamzat is younger, hungrier, he's meaner, and he's a risk taker, like you said.
Yeah. That's his bread and butter. I was wondering, I don't know how the timelines line up here with what Duplessis said about wanting to be the first UFC champion to take a belt to Africa. How did you feel about that? Like, do you feel like Usman's like, oh, dude, shut the fuck up?
He did. He publicly was like, I think he said, I'm going to beat the black into you or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I get it. Look, hey, I support America. I'm from America. Serve this country. I worship my battle buddies that I serve with. I love them. I'm very proud. But if I was a white dude from Africa,
I don't think I would be.
I don't think I'd be calling out the current champion.
Correct.
Like talking shit when he's a black guy. I don't know. I think that's just a little silly. But he's not lying. He was born in Africa. He trains in Africa. Look, if you are not, how can I say this without sounding rude? If you're a dumb motherfucker and you've never left your city or your county and you think of Africa as probably
a predominantly
African black culture.
Correct.
Right?
And then there's Cape Town.
If you have left the country, like I have, and you've met many, many, many people, you know that there's parts of Africa that if you got dropped off there, you'd probably think you were in Australia.
100%.
You'd never even know. You'd have no idea. But if you don't know geography, economics, and you've never left your mom's basement, and you still go to the same bar with the same people you grew up with, and you can't wait for that high school reunion, and you're not going to know that stuff.
That's it.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of odd to me. But
I just wasn't sure how the timelines lined up, and like Usman's like, oh, I'm pushing the gas pedal to really get back to, those are the little things that at a certain point in time in your career, you got to use it as fuel.
So you think that Usman's trying to make sure he gets the fight at welter before Khamzat jumps up to 185 and fights at 185 and not fights at welterweight? I could see that. I could see that argument. Like if I don't get Khamzat now, I stall, he's going to say, well, forget the welterweight. Let me just go up to 185 and fight the champ.
Yep.
Because who else is really exciting at 185? Not that they're not exciting fights and great matchups, but Adesanya's beat everybody. And Duplessis is like number 11 or 7 or something. I think he has a couple more. I want to see him, fight a Whitaker.
Duplessis
Acosta.
is at 6.
He's at 6. Yeah, he needs like I want to see him go against, his last fight was against Darren Till. Nothing against Darren Till, but his knees were shot, his shoulders shot. It was his last fight since he got out of his contract. I want to see him go in there against a dog like Marvin Vettori or Whitaker or Paulo Costa. Dominate one of those guys. And then we could talk about you jumping for the belt. But just because the champion's talking shit to you, doesn't mean that you don't have to earn it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no. Like, if the varsity coach isn't just going to take some 8th grader, you got to wait a few years, kid.
Yep.
So that's exciting. I think Khamzat's going to win. I'm going to say it now on Fight Junkeez. I got Khamzat. I think he'll be the favorite. I think he'll be like a negative 160. It's not going to be much, but I'm excited for that. And there's a lot more about that card, but like I said last week, I don't want to go too ahead of myself. I do the show twice a week, and then I also, do interviews and other things. So I want to hit each thing as it comes. The UFC is a well-oiled machine, and they have fights dominantly 52 weeks of the year. So I want to keep up with the same calendar as the UFC. All right, so let's get into the next thing that I want to talk about. And I think that, George, if you don't know, George was an educator. Correct. I was going to say school teacher, but I don't want to get choked out. He's humongous. He's also, D-line guy. What position did you play?
I played freaking linebacker, bro.
All right,
so I was a linebacker.
I was right.
Fullback.
I
like to hit people.
Yeah. So we don't, this is a small room. I might have a little bit of a chance if we're in a big parking lot to throw down with George, but in here I'm going to go through this wall. So I'm going to say educator, not school teacher. But we're blessed to have him here. And the reason I bring that up is because you articulate the things that are in your mind and you get them out of your mouth a lot better than some of us in this world. And I'm very excited to bring this subject up with you because I think you're going to be able to talk about it better than me, which is not hard to do.
Shut the fuck up.
I got a GED from Jersey. Let's go. I actually have a GED and a high school diploma.
Hey-o.
I don't know how, but...
You just...
No,
like
I got out, got a
major.
GED, and then made credits. It's funny. But Aljamain Sterling is fighting Sugar Sean O'Malley. When you think of Aljamain Sterling, before I get into like the reason I'm bringing him up, when you think of Aljo, what comes to mind? Be real. I know we know him. I know he's close. I know.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, what is your opinion of Aljamain Sterling?
Aljamain Sterling is a person that has refined his game over the last 5 years. I've seen him make subtle improvements. If you're talking about a guy who's getting 1% better every single fight that he's in, you can really see the body of work he's put together. And I think he thoroughly showed it in the Cejudo fight that, he's the one that you got to watch out for. Stand-up human being. Like that's how I describe him. But I also think it's similar to Ode in the sense where stand-up human being, great person guy, but then don't disrespect them. And he sets a firm boundary. And I think he feels the UFC is disrespecting him with this Sean O'Malley fight. Because we all know, right? I don't think Sean, one, deserves to be in that 2 spot because of what happened in the Jan fight. But, yeah.
So you think he's a stand-up guy?
Stand-up guy.
Stand-up guy. I agree. I'm going to be, devil's advocate here. I've been following the East Coast guys for a very long time. Very long time. Frankie Edgar, that whole team in Toms River, all the way up to Long Island. I've been watching them for forever. Aljamain Sterling, started out there in Long Island, worked his ass off, made his way to be a champ. There's some people in this world, regardless of their ability to win championships, they just don't have that thing.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly what that thing is, but I do not think he has it.
Aljo?
Yes. And I'm talking about the personality part.
Okay.
Which plays a big part of your career when it comes to advertising yourself in the media machine of the UFC. I don't want to just bring up Conor, but Conor had that thing.
Mm-hmm.
When he spoke, people listened, entertaining at the highest level, conducted himself at all times as the champ. Not saying that Aljo doesn't. It's just there's some people that just like, they can't, as Dana said, they can't get out of their own way. And this is completely separate. Now, if you that's him like as a promoter to himself. I think he does some cringy stuff. You know, he says some things that probably, I don't know, not my cup of tea. But like I said a couple episodes ago, that has nothing to do with him being able to smoke you inside of that octagon. And that's the problem that happens with the UFC in some instances is you could have a dominant champion like Aljamain Sterling that does everything, answers the phone every single time he's called. He gets up, he puts the work in, he makes weight, he shows up fight day, and he does what you need to do. And he gets his hand raised, and he walks away with that strap around his waist. But it seems like that's not enough. And I think that's where the disrespecting Aljamain Sterling comes into play. For some reason, right now in the UFC, being the champion and showing up and fighting is not enough.
Yep. It's,
I don't know.
Well, no, you're not wrong here. But think about the guy that's sitting right next to you, okay? Boom.
Bam.
Icon.
Proper
legend.
12.
Legend, okay? I relate it back to football. It's going to be a very tough comparison to Tom Brady, anybody, right? Because he's been that mogul, that icon in the sport, and there's far and few between. Now, the thing that I feel we're experiencing right now is like, does it have to be that?
No,
it doesn't. But we search for that, right? And I think there's a certain person in that division and why that fight was made, because a certain person
talk that shit, George,
fits that fucking mold. And we both know Merab versus Aljo is a way better fight, in my opinion, to establish who's the true dog of that division. So it's disrespecting both ways. One, disrespecting Aljo for thinking that it's Sugar Sean's time. And I think I've seen this with other fighters before. I can't think of any at the top of my head right now, but it's been like an expedited journey.
Jorge Masvidal. I mean, it took forever, but once he got there, he fought Usman 2 times in a row when there was a crazy amount of people knocking at the door.
Correct. And so it could be an extreme humbling, right? I'm looking at it from like the glass half empty perspective on this, right? Whereas if I was a Sugar Sean O'Malley fan, I'd be like, oh, glass half full. And, you know, I'd be super grateful that this man who is young and is a stud and has this social media game figured out, has the promotional side figured out, why not give him the chance?
Well, that's the question right there. That's why. Now, granted, he just, he also beat the number 1 contender, Jan, the same as Merab. So I do personally believe that warrants him getting, a title fight. But that's exactly what I'm trying to say. There's never going to be another Conor. There's never going to be another Ronda. But there could be other versions. There could be similar athletes that perform at the same level both in and outside the octagon. The problem is people are not being themselves, man. They're not authentic, and they're writing scripts, and they're coming out, and you could tell, I can tell, man. 30, not even 10 seconds of meeting somebody, I could tell if you're full of shit or not. I mean, yeah, I'll wear the sunglasses. We put all this crap, we're doing a show out there in the real world. 37 years, man. I can look you in your damn face and I'll know right away. And when I watch these interviews with Aljo, it doesn't, I don't think he's a shit talker. You know what I hate? When people got to change the way they speak to sound different.
Yeah.
Bro, I spent summers in Brooklyn. I went to high school for a little while in Queens. I used to go to the Bronx all the time. I know gangsters, bro. I lived in Houston.
Yeah.
I've been in, some stuff in my past where, I've definitely bettered myself. But, I've been places that most people don't want to go. I've seen gangsters. I know gangsters.
And
they're not faking it, bro.
I'll toss this into your favor, right? They're not faking it because they're confident in their abilities. Now, what I feel has happened with Aljo, and it's not a bad thing because it means that he has more room to grow. But I feel at a certain level, you're so confident that although it may not seem like shit talking, your confidence exudes shit talking. Whenever you listen to Sugar Sean O'Malley, he could say he'll piece up anybody from here all the way to fucking New York.
Yeah.
Right? But that's that level of confidence he has in his game. And to some people, I feel it's a detriment because I'm like, do you not feel like you have way more room to grow? There's no humble talk, humility in what you're saying.
Yes.
And I feel with Aljo, we get that, like a little bit of humility. And I feel like that uncertainty is because, bro, like he's had a tough road. Like to have Cejudo, I mean, it kind of scared me, right? This motherfucker hasn't done anything for 3 years. Comes back and says, I want you. I would, not saying that I wouldn't be confident in my abilities, but you're having a fucking gold medalist come back and call your name.
It's a lot.
You at a certain point, you kind of want to watch your tongue a little bit. And you want to just leave it into the cage and let your fighting do the talking, which you did.
That's the big problem, specifically with Aljo, in my eyes. You don't need to prove nothing to nobody, champ. You've already done it. You don't need to go on interviews and play this role of being a gangster. It's okay you don't want to be a gangster, man. Gangsters aren't home with their family right now. They're not rocking gold chains and championship belts. They're not around. And they never will be. Just be you, big dog. Just be you. I'm so sick of people being fake. You don't gotta prove. Stop. Stop being fake. Be yourself. Because everybody, to include you, knows you're full of shit when you're being fake.
Yeah.
Everybody. And you're in a fist fight in the octagon. What else do you got to prove? Nobody watches somebody. Nobody loses a fight and goes, yeah, but I'll beat, what do they say? But I'll beat you in basketball, because nobody gives a shit about basketball. You don't got to act gangster. It is gangster to walk out in front of 18,000 people and millions live and get into a ring in your underwear and get down. That's gangster in itself. But when you got people try to change up in these interviews and add swagger and add all this other crap, to me, coming from where I come from, the East Coast, same place as Aljo, East Coast, knowing real legitimate gangsters and real bad people that I do not envy, it puts me off, man. It really does, and it does. I talk all this, and I say this, George, because it breaks my heart that it's not enough to be the champion. It's not enough to go in there, fight after fight after fight, and get your hand raised and walk away with gold belts and prove to the world and yourself that you are the best and you are number one. It's not enough anymore in the UFC, bro. It's not enough. And I don't know what is. Because Conor's, there's only one Conor.
Yep.
All right.
But I think to close it off and while you gather your thoughts for the next point, when you are that fake person and you have to pay the piper like Conor's had to do the past couple of times, it fucking sucks. All right? It fucking sucks when you're that guy that's piping up all the goddamn time, and now he's doing it again with Chandler and like some of these hype promos that I'm seeing for what the hell's it?
Tough.
Yeah, Tough coming up, and The Ultimate Fighter.
But you know why he's doing it, right? Because he feels that he already beat Chad Mendes. He's already been introduced to somebody like Michael Chandler with the same style. Eddie Alvarez, Michael Chandler, all these other guys. And so in his mind, he thinks this is the same person. And it's not. Michael Chandler's a dog. I just hope he goes in there and plays it smart. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. But that,
No,
you know, I get it. Yeah. You are going to pay more of a consequence if you go in there and you talk all that shit and then you lose. But people like Aljamain Sterling, who have already proved themselves and are the winningest bantamweight champ of all time, they don't got to talk that shit anymore. I'm the champ. Mm-hmm. What I think should happen is Sugar Sean should fight Merab. Aljo should take a little bit of a break because he's the champ and he earned it. And he just fought 3 weeks ago. And then whoever wins that fight has to fight for the belt. Mm-hmm. I mean, that to me would be the true number one contender. Granted, I'm an O'Malley dick rider. You know, I'm a big fan of Sugar Sean. I want to see Sugar go in there. I do think if he can keep the distance, that he's going to starch Aljo. If he can keep the distance, I think if Aljo closes the distance, it's a wrap. Backpack. He's going to take his back. So that's going to be one of those, like, one mistake. And at that highest level, it's only one mistake, 1 inch, 1 second, one bad thought, one wrong movement, and the fight is over. And that's why I love it so much. I relate it to war. Peek your head down that hallway without clearing it. One wrong mistake.
Yep.
Done. You're dead. All right. I'm going to segue that into my next. I thought I was done with what I'm about to bring up, George, but the gift kept on giving. And the gift is John Jones versus Tyson Fury. Keeps popping up.
Yeah? This is, I'm reading through this the first time I've seen it, but we're going to keep it popping up.
Okay.
Why not?
So if you didn't know, Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience said, all right, let me backtrack. John Jones, GOAT, heavyweight champ, best light heavyweight champ of the world. Never lost. I don't care about that stupid DQ, whatever the hell it was. The GOAT. John Jones, GOAT. Fucking GOAT. Let's go to boxing. Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. Champ, GOAT, savage. I'll give you all the flowers, Tyson Fury. I'm going to give you all the flowers. You deserve all the flowers. But to get mad when Joe Rogan says that if you and John Jones went into a small room, that John Jones would be the one walking out is ridiculous. You beating John Jones is as likely as me beating Tiger Woods in golf.
It ain't happening.
Not happening. So the reason I bring this back up, George, is because I'd already spoke about this and I thought it was done. But Uncle Dana, sometimes, because he's in his own little bubble, rightfully so, it takes a few days for things to get to him and for him to publicly speak on it. So Dana was on an interview the other day, and he said, I like Tyson Fury. We have a good relationship. If Tyson Fury wants to come over to the UFC and fight John Jones, I will make it happen. We did it before with Conor and Floyd Mayweather back in August of 2017. We could do it again. Immediately, what do you think Tyson Fury said in response to Dana White?
I would say he's saying something about boxing rules. Like, he's like, bro, I can't have John Jones choking me out.
The nonsense has to stop, George. Like, am I going to go squat more than you today?
Probably not, man.
Like, if I train for the next year, am I going to squat more than you?
No.
It's not going to happen. We got to stop the nonsense. And I get it. They want exactly what I'm doing right now. You guys want me to talk about this nonsense because it gets me going. It does. It fires me up. I'm not just a podcast host of the best fight show on earth. I'm a super fan. I'm only in here because my big bro and boss watched me diligently for a couple of years and said, oh, that son of a gun actually is consistent. He knows what he's talking about. That's why I'm in here. So when I hear this crap, it fires me up. It really does. There is no way in hell John Jones would not absolutely destroy the Gypsy King in an actual MMA fight inside the cage. So when Tyson Fury said there's not a man born from his mother that can beat me, and then you're literally the president, Dana White, says you can come over to the UFC and fight John Jones. No problem. I did it with Conor and Mayweather. We have a good working relation. Come over to the UFC, Tyson Fury, and fight John Jones. And immediately you backtrack and say it has to be under traditional boxing rules.
Pussy.
Stop talking. Shut up. No disrespect to the champ. I'm a huge fan. But if I was saying some shit like that, I hope people close to me would tell me stop. You know, I'm not going to beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. It's not going to happen. All right. I know we're running out of time, but let me jump into Power Slap. If you don't know, now you know. Power Slap was live yesterday on Rumble at the UFC Apex. And did you watch it?
No, it was on Rumble.
Okay.
I haven't switched over yet.
All right. I watched a lot of it was a portion of it was live on YouTube as well. I got to say in the build up of the Power Slap thing, I won't say I was against it, but being an MMA mixed martial arts fan, I was just like, what is this? It's not for me. And I also thought, like everybody else who's uneducated, I thought Power Slap is nothing but giving your opponent a concussion. But as I dove a little deeper into it, and I realized that these guys are only taking 3 to 5 slaps per match. And then boxers are taking 3 to 500 punches to the face. How much worse could it be? And the answer, it's not worse at all. If you're getting, these fighters, all CAT scans and getting them checked out by the best doctors in the world to know that they're good to go, and then they're only taking a few hits to the face, more power to them. They also introduced bonuses, $10,000 bonuses for performance of the night and stuff, which I thought was great. So I'm all in on Power Slap. I think it's great. Slap for cash. Man, you got knocked the fuck out. Sorry. I think Logan Paul knocked him out too in LA a few years ago. But talk about bringing somebody into the sport that, is going to amplify it on so many levels. Nelk boys were there. Steve Will Do It, was doing shotgun and beers with the winners as they came off the stage. I'm all in. Power Slap, I'm all in. I'm all in. Let's do it. I'm going to end on one more note because this is something that I, it's a little depressing, but I want to bring it up. And this is for all your dads out there to make the right decision, even in a hard time. Cain Velasquez, former UFC heavyweight champion of the world, has just requested, and it was approved by the judge, to have his court date postponed till August. This is the third time they've pushed it back. If you didn't know, he went to jail for attempted murder. Somebody, sexually assaulted his child, and he did what any man would do. It's not easy to respond to chaos appropriately, especially when it's your family. So if anybody has any opinion saying that Cain Velasquez shouldn't have done what he did, and you are a man, you're wrong. If you are a father and you think that Cain Velasquez was in the wrong, I don't want to know you. You're not a man to me. I literally just said this morning to myself, my life is so good. George, my life is good, man.
It's great, Bobby.
Life is good.
It really is.
I used to be in a real bad spot years ago, and I've grinded it out. My life is good. But mark my words, as Cain Velasquez did, if anybody hurt my family or my children, I will lose this in a heartbeat. And I'm not a UFC fighter. I'm not going to miss. I'm not going to miss.
Yep.
So shout out to Cain Velasquez. I really hope in August this is rectified and justice is brought to the monsters that were involved in this. There are weekends coming up. If you're a dad and somebody says some crazy shit to you, let it go. Walk away. Put your ego down. Put it in the glove box. Your family needs you. Your family deserves you.
But don't cross the fucking line.
Yeah, don't cross it because you can lose everything in a heartbeat. All right. That's my realness for the show. I'm going to go to the strip today. So, yeah.
Keep your eyes out, people.
Keep your eyes out for Fight Junkeez. Once again, like, share, subscribe. Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning in. A lot of you that see me, you don't know me, but mark my words, you're going to know me. You're going to. And that's not arrogance.
That's consistency.
It's consistency. I have 2 daughters. I have a beautiful wife. The people I'm surrounded by believe in me. I owe it to them. So I'm going to keep showing up. Fight Junkeez. I appreciate everybody. George.